Welcome back. In this video, we're going to finally set everything up so that we can get the actual location and display the location. So we can already get the location, but we cannot display it yet. And that's what we want to change. So I'm inside of this location utils class that we created a little earlier. And in here, I will load a private val fused location client, which will be of type fused location provider client. So you see, I automatically get this import and it's from Android GMS location. Okay, so if you recall, that was the Gradle implementation that we added. So GMS play service location. So now that we have that, let me actually go back to my location utils. Now I can use this fused location provider client, which then will allow me to get the longitude and latitude of the user. So we need to say what it should be. Okay, let me actually say equal. So we need to initialize it. Location services dot get fused location provider with the context. So get fused location provider client, where we need to pass the context in. So let me put that into a separate line like so. Now you see why we needed the context. We didn't only need it here, but we will also need it for our fused location client. So this is the main entry point for interacting with the fused location provider FLP. In order to use most location APIs, clients are required to hold either this or define location. We saw that. Then can also use background location if we need that. Yeah, so basically this fused location provider client will fuse the location together so we can work with it. All right, so now that we have that, let's create a function that will give us the actual location. So I'm going to use fun request location updates. And now the location updates function will require the view model, our location view model. And now in here, I'm going to call use something called a location callback, which is basically a callback is you use something where you request something and then you wait for it to finalize that thing and then it returns something to you. And in this case, we want to get the location. Okay, and this can take a little while, which is why we're using a callback. So I will create a object here directly of the location callback that we also get from GMS. So here, location callback, this import. And now what should this object do for us? Well, thing is, we're creating this object of location callback, and in here, we can override things. So that's really crazy, huh? We can basically just say, okay, instead of inheriting from your class and do our own thing with it and overriding, we can directly create an object and override instantly inside of that object. So we're overriding a function, and the function that we want to override is the onLocation result. So this onLocation result will give us a P0, which I don't like as a name. So I'm going to replace that with a location result. And here I'm going to pass the location result. So there's the super function, as we've seen whenever we do an override. And then I want to use that location result and get the last location. So this will give us the last location. Now, I want to basically create a location object with our location data. So where I get the latitude and longitude. In order to do so, what I want to, well, I will basically unpack this last location with our let method. We've seen that before, where I will get the location. So I'm going to say val location will be location data, and the latitude of our location data, which is our own data class that we created, will be it.latitude. So it is this location right here, this it thing here. That's what we get from this location result, last location. So the latitude and the longitude will be it.longitude. So this it thing holds those two pieces of information. And now at this point that I have my latitude and longitude, I can use my view model to update the location with my location. So what is going on? Well, inside of our location view model, we had this location mutable state of that we created. And we created a function called update location, which now allows us to update the location with a new location data object, which just holds the latitude and longitude. And we're basically overriding this or overwriting this location with whatever the location is once we get the location results. So basically once we call this function called request location updates. Now this is just a callback that is never used. So it's never actually going to do anything unless we tell to do something. So telling how to do that is in our next line. So location request is going to be location request, and I need to manually write it. Okay, location request dot, and here we need to use its builder. Okay, so I'm going to use the GMS builder, and I need to pass in the priority dot, and let me just see that let's import the location request here, and I'm going to use the GMS version. Let me just check. Location request, yep, that's the right one. So here I can now go for the priority, which I also need to import. Import class priority, and I'm going to use the GMS version. And now this class has a few priorities that we can use. So I'm going to use priority high accuracy. So you can see there are different ways of how you can actually request the location of the user, and high accuracy will use a lot of battery. Low power will use low battery. Balanced power accuracy will try to balance it, and then there's this priority passive, which will, from what I understand, do require only a little battery, so to speak. So the builder needs additional information. So it needs to get the priority as well as the interval in which I want to ask for location, or like get the location. Then I need to build it. So let me put that into a separate line. So this will be my location request. However, this location request is not executed yet. You see it's grayed out. So we're just building it basically. And now in the next step, I can use my fused location client, which is this one here, which is now going to put everything together, because it has a function called request location updates. Now here I need to pass in the location request, which is this one here that we just set up, and then I need to pass the location callback, which we had set up earlier. And on top of that, there's another parameter that is of type looper, and I'm just going to use the get main looper here. So whenever you want to use that feature, you need to ask for permissions. So that's what this error is that we get here. We're basically getting the error saying, hey, you need to have permission to use this thing, course location as well as access find location. So we now need to make sure that we only call this function if we actually have the permission or not, or like if we actually have the permission. So we can get rid of this problem or this error by using a suppress lint. Okay, let me show you what that is. We use this suppress lint, which is an Android annotation. And here we're going to suppress the missing permission. So now this ignores the error that we have here at the bottom. Okay, so what is this lint thing? Let me quickly show you, because I really like the explanation that I got here. The lint tool checks your Android project source file for potential bugs and optimization improvements for correctness, security, performance, usability, accessibility, and internationalization. When using Android Studio, configured lint and IDE inspections run when you build your app. So basically this thing is just taking care of us not screwing up our application and making sure the code is good and secure and safe and all of that. That's why we got this error, and we're just saying, hey, just ignore this error. We are taking care of it ourselves. So don't worry about the missing permission. We are going to take care of this ourselves. So now this looper, I just rushed over it real quick. Basically, the looper is used to handle the threading and message processing for location updates. It allows the location provider to communicate with your app's main thread or another specified thread. By providing a specific looper, you can control on which thread location updates will be delivered. So this would go a little too far for this course. This is quite advanced stuff, but if you really want to make sure, hey, it runs on a specific thread, then you can modify that piece of code. Okay, I know this video will be long, but I really want to finish it in this video. So let's keep going. And therefore, we're going to go over to our location display. Let me see, that's inside of our main activity. So location display needs a view model, right? And here, when we do have the permission, this is where we actually have access to the location. That's where we're going to use that location utils dot request location updates, and we're going to pass in the view model. So here our view model, this one up here. So we're passing our location view model to request location updates. Now this request location updates will give us the, now this request location updates will update our view model, which contains, if we look at it, the location. So if we want to access that location now, we can go ahead and create a variable in here inside of our composable, because we do have access to the view model itself. So we're going to say val location will be view model dot location dot value, which now is this location here, which is the state of location data, which basically contains our latitude and longitude. Okay, so now we have this location variable, and we can go ahead and use it inside of our composable text. So location not available is what it said by default, but now we're going to check if the location is not null. So if location is not equal null, so we know we have a location, then let's print text that says address, and currently it's just going to display the location dot latitude as well as the location dot longitude. Okay, and now finally, if we don't have the location, so it is null, then we're saying location not available. All right, so that's it. Let's quickly run it, because basically we prepared everything, and now we can finally execute it and see the latitude and longitude of our phone. And let me get the location. And actually, let me make sure that I do have access. So allow when using the app. And yeah, I missed one thing, and that's when we actually has location permission. So when we do have access to the location permission, that's when we actually want to get the location. So here I'm going to request location updates with our view model. Okay, so once we click on the button, that's when we want to get access to the location. And as you see, we're just passing the view model, and the view model always takes care of basically the data. All right, so we don't need to manually update the data all the time. So let's get the location, and there we are. So we have our latitude and longitude. And by the way, if you don't have access to the location, make sure that you have your permission activated. So we see the latitude and longitude. And in the next video, we're going to look a little more into what latitude and longitude means in this context. So see you in the next video.